Hello and welcome to the Injury Report podcast, talking about some NFL players that got dinged up, some that got worse over the weekends, and what we know, what we don't know, and what to expect for the future with these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the top one, Tony Romo, fractured clavicle. As you know, collarbone. He got hurt. Last week they lose Des Bryant. This week they lose Tony Romo. And we saw Brandon Weeden come in for Tony Romo, and he looked good, but it was also late in the game. That was 13-3 at the time, and the Eagles just could not move the ball. Threw a touchdown pass to Terrence Williams, which it seemed like no one was even near him at the time. But obviously, Brandon Weeden doesn't have a ton of upside, but with some weapons in this offense, I mean, he's got guys to get involved. It's going to be a wait-and-see kind of scenario, but Weeden's not going to be a guy that you're targeting really in DFS. He's 5-16 as a starter, and Jason Witten and Cole Beasley, quick short routes, as Zach points out in this article. Check it out at dailyfantasycafe.com at Zach Scott Moxie wrote this one up. And Joseph Randall, Darren McFadden, going to see some more carries, obviously. You expect this team they do have some running back depth. Maybe they try to take the pressure off of Weeden, run the ball a little bit more. And they do have a great offensive line, so that bodes well for everyone there. But big-time loss, they're saying 10 to 12 weeks now. Des Bryant, we've heard anything from 4 to 12 to some other players and people speculating maybe he doesn't play again this season. So maybe both get up around the same time they get back. They are 2-0, so definitely possible we see these guys back, but nothing anytime soon. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Next up, Jay Cutler with a hamstring injury. And Bears fans are all too used to seeing things like this. Got a notification on my phone from, I think it was NFL.com or something. One of those sites that said, Jay Cutler leaves game with apparent injury. And, you know, it's just one of those things you laugh. You see Jay Cutler leaves the game because he's left many games. And he tried to make a tackle after throwing an interception. And that's when he injured his hamstring. And it was a pick six and 100. That one right there, but before that, he was 8 for 8 for 120 yards and a touchdown. Jimmy Clausen took over, and Jimmy Clausen, as we know, there's a reason why this guy's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Not a very good backup, and Alshon Jeffrey was out as well. So the Bears, I mean, you've got Matt Forte and Martellus Bennett, and that's about it right now. You assume Jeffrey probably back next week, but don't know how much faith I or anyone else has in Jimmy Clausen. So that's going to be a brutal one for the Bears, and the Bears are playing the Seahawks. So good luck with that target. There's a difference between being contrarian and playing just a terrible matchup. Seahawks are going to come into this one at 0-2. Going to be a game they need to win. And if Jimmy Clausen ends up being the starter, then you gotta like the chances of getting to 1-2 here. Next up, Eddie Lacy. This was a big one. Sprained ankle, and he got injured early. And Lacy had 3 carries for 9 yards. I don't know the extent of the injury yet. He's out for an undetermined amount of time now, so all speculation, but obviously it's not a break, it's not a tear, just a sprain, so maybe this week, maybe next week. But James Starks looked great coming in. Obviously, we know this is a good offensive line, it's a great offense, one of the best offenses in all of football, and Starks looked great against that tough Seattle defense. So 24 touches for 106 yards. Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, maybe they get more involved in some short passing games, in the short passing game a little bit more, but either way, we've seen James Starks step in before for Eddie Lacy when he's been injured, and I mean, even in playoff games. So this is a guy that has a track record of success as a backup. So he's a guy that actually we know will be, you know, an effective backup, a guy that you can actually slot in there and you actually feel good about, assuming that Lacy misses a week, maybe 2 weeks, whatever it may be. Maybe he doesn't miss time. Obviously, we don't know for sure yet. But certainly James Starks, of the guys we've mentioned yet, the guy that gets the biggest boost that actually has, you know, a rapport of being a guy who has success. Tevin Coleman was the next one, a fractured rib, big time blow, and he was doing well. He had picked up 32 yards and a touchdown early. Going to be out a couple weeks. Devontae Freeman going to get some touches there. Freeman's a guy who has had his chance as to steal this top job. He had a chance last year, had a chance this year, and he's a guy that, you know, he's explosive, but I'm not convinced. Most people are not convinced that this is a guy that's going to be getting 20-plus carries. I'm sure that he won't be. And we saw Julio Jones see even more targets after that. So Julio Jones gets another bump. We saw Leonard Hankerson get more involved. So the passing game, I would assume, gets a more sizable bump than anything. Devontae Freeman, I mean, he's a fringe GVP type of play, if you ask me. right now. I mean, he's a guy you can throw in there, but you're not expecting a ton of volume because this is a Falcons team that didn't run the ball a ton before for these reasons. So big loss for the Falcons there as he had looked really good. Matt Stafford next, a chest injury, getting an x-ray on his chest, extent of the injury unknown. Jim Caldwell came out and said that he could miss some time, which is really going to hurt Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate. Dan Orlovsky is the backup. Career 14 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, also 11 fumbles. Lions offensive line, as Zach points out here, look terrible. Going to be a rough matchup for them against the Broncos team that has 6 sacks over the first 2 games. So this is a great spot for the Broncos defense, assuming that Matt Stafford is sitting out, which it seems like as well. And Amir Abdullah had 11 touches in the first week, 7 in the second week. So maybe we see them come back to him, try to get him more involved in the short passing game if Orlovsky ends up getting the start. But definitely not good sign for Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, in this passing game. And then one more thing not mentioned in the article that just came out this morning. We don't know if there's truth to this or not, but we know that Drew Brees is a little bit banged up. Saw a beat reporter potentially saying that he has broken or torn his something in his shoulder. There's rumors that maybe it's a rotator cuff, in which case it would be the entire season. So keep your eye on that. That could be absolutely huge news for the Saints, for fantasy football, DFS. I mean, for a lot of things. So definitely keep your eyes open on that. Like I said, don't know how much truth there is to it. It seems like a speculative tweet. It wasn't anything from a team or anything like that. But definitely keep your eye on that because we do know that he got hit hard and there could be some truth to that rumor. So with that, that's going to wrap things up. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Lots of great content for every sport this week in DFS to help you win, wrap up baseball season on a strong note, and keep it going in NFL. We'll see you guys next time.